Scorpio, what I'm about to tell you might sound strange at first, but I need you to listen to every word. This has to do with your neighbor. And before you think I'm talking about the person who lives next door, let me be clear. I'm talking about something much closer, something that lives right beside you every day, influences every decision you make, and has been sabotaging your life in ways you haven't even realized. This neighbor isn't human. It's your shadow, the version you've been ignoring, denying, and running from for years. And it's getting louder, it's getting stronger, and if you don't pay attention to what I'm about to reveal, it will take control in ways that will shock you. You've felt it before, haven't you? That presence that whispers destructive thoughts when you're about to succeed. That voice that tells you to push people away just when they're getting close. That impulse to destroy something good before it has a chance to become great. That's your neighbor, and it's time we talked about what it really wants from you. Your neighbor is nervous because you're finally going to discover the truth about his existence. He's been operating in the darkness of your subconscious for so long that the idea of being exposed terrifies him. But here's what you need to understand. Your neighbor isn't your enemy. He's a part of you that was exiled, rejected, pushed into the shadows because you were taught that certain parts of yourself were unacceptable. And now he's manifesting himself, demanding attention in the only way he knows how, through sabotage. This revelation will change everything for you, because once you understand what your neighbor truly is and what he's been trying to tell you, you'll have access to a power most people never discover in their entire lives. You'll understand why you repeated certain patterns that make no sense, why you sabotaged relationships that were perfect for you, why you let slip opportunities that could have changed everything. Your neighbor was in control, and you didn't even know it. Can you feel the truth of this resonating somewhere deep within you, in a place you were afraid to look? Scorpio, you have always been drawn to darkness, to mysteries, to the hidden parts of reality that others fear to explore. This is no coincidence. It is the way your soul has found to prepare you for this very moment when you will finally have to face your own inner darkness and transform it into your greatest source of power. But let me be blunt. Most people never do this work. Most people spend their entire lives running from their own shadow, letting it control them behind the scenes, never understanding why their lives seem to be conspiring against them. You've been living alongside a version of yourself that carries all the parts you've rejected. The anger you were told was inappropriate, the intensity people said was excessive, the lust for power that society taught you to be ashamed of, the sexuality that bothered others, the ability to see through lies that made people call you paranoid or negative. Every time someone told you to relax or stop being so intense, they were asking you to reject yet another part of yourself. And that part didn't disappear. It moved into the house next door. It became your neighbor, and now this neighbor is filled with all those rejected parts, growing and demanding recognition. When you feel that urge to destroy something beautiful in your life, it's your neighbor acting. When you push away someone who truly loves you, it's your neighbor trying to prove that no one is trustworthy. When you sabotage your own success just as you're venturing into the unknown, it's your neighbor ensuring you remain small and safe instead of expanding your full potential. Do you recognize these patterns? Can you see your neighbor's influence in all the moments of your life that never made sense? For Scorpios born between October 23rd and November 1st, their negative side manifests primarily through sabotaging relationships. You'll find yourself testing people's loyalty in ways that actually push them away, using their departure as proof that no one is trustworthy. For those born between November 2nd and 12th, their negative side appears through self-destructive behaviors just when you're about to achieve something significant. You'll make choices that seem to come out of nowhere and destroy everything you've built. And for Scorpios, born between November 13th and 21st, their negative side acts through control and manipulation, trying to manage every aspect of their life and the lives of others because they are terrified of vulnerability and surrender. But here's the crucial truth I need you to understand. Your neighbor isn't trying to destroy you. He's trying to protect you. He's using the only strategies he knows, strategies you learned in childhood when you first experienced rejection, betrayal, or the pain of hearing that who you really were wasn't acceptable. Your neighbor still operates on those old patterns, trying to keep you safe from experiencing that pain again. The problem is that his methods are outdated and destructive. What protected you as a child now keeps you trapped as an adult. The reason this is so serious, the reason I'm telling you to be very careful, is because your neighbor is about to take a drastic step in his life. He's desperate for attention, and desperate neighbors do desperate things. In the coming weeks, you will face situations where your dark side will try to take control in dramatic ways. It might lead you to end a relationship suddenly. It might lead you to impulsively quit your job. It might convince you that you need to isolate yourself completely from everyone. And if you don't recognize these impulses for what they are, your neighbor acting inappropriately, you could end up doing things you'll deeply regret. But I didn't make this video just to warn you about the danger. I made it to show you how to completely transform your relationship with your neighbor. Because when Scorpio learns to work with their shadow instead of fighting against it, something extraordinary happens. You become unstoppable. You gain access to depths of power, intuition, and transformation that other signs can only dream of. You become someone who can walk through the darkness without fear, who can face the truth without hesitation, who can turn poison into medicine. Are you ready to stop running away from your neighbor and finally sit down for a conversation that will change your entire existence? The first step is recognition. You need to realize when your negative self is influencing your thoughts and actions. And here's how you can identify it. Your negative self always acts driven by fear, scarcity, and self-protection. When you think about pushing someone away before they hurt you, that's your negative self. When you consider destroying something good before it's taken from you, that's your negative self. When you feel the need to control every detail of a situation to avoid vulnerability, that's your negative self. Your authentic self, on the other hand, acts driven by power, abundance, and courage. It seeks depth, not control. It desires transformation, not destruction. It embraces intensity as a gift, not a curse. When you begin to recognize your neighbor's voice, you can start talking to him instead of being controlled by him. This may sound strange, but what I'm suggesting is literal. When you notice these destructive impulses arising, stop and ask, what are you afraid of? What are you trying to protect me from? And then listen. Your neighbor will tell you. He will show you the childhood wounds he still tries to protect you from. He will reveal the beliefs he has formed about how dangerous the world is and how dishonest people are. And as you listen with compassion instead of judgment, something miraculous happens. Your neighbor begins to relax. He realizes he no longer needs to fight so hard. This is the work most people avoid their entire lives because it requires you to confront parts of yourself that are uncomfortable, painful, or frightening. But you are a Scorpio. This is your territory. You were born for this level of psychological and spiritual depth. While other signs might get away with a superficial self-awareness, you cannot. Your soul chose this sign specifically because you have the capacity to delve into your own underworld, confront your demons, and emerge transformed with treasures that can heal not only you, but everyone around you. Your neighbor holds the keys to your greatest gifts. That intensity you were told to suppress, it's actually your ability to generate profound transformations in any situation. That darkness you were taught to fear, it's actually your ability to see the truth that others don't see and to embrace people in their pain without trying to fix them or run away. That desire for power you were shamed for, it's actually your innate right to take the lead and influence in ways that serve the greater good of all involved. When you integrate your neighbor instead of rejecting them, you don't become more destructive, you become more whole. You gain access to the full range of human emotions and experiences. You stop pretending to be lighter than you are. You stop diminishing yourself to please others. You stop apologizing for your depth, your intensity, your ability to see beyond the surface of everything. And when you stop apologizing for who you are, people who resonate with your authentic frequency begin to appear in your life. Not people who want you to be less, but people who celebrate your greatness. The next few weeks are crucial as an energetic shift is occurring that is bringing out the dark side in everyone. For most signs, this will be uncomfortable. For you, Scorpio, this is your moment. You have been preparing for this your whole life, even without knowing it. Every time you faced something difficult and survived, you were strengthening the muscles necessary for this transformation. Every time you saw a truth that others denied, you were strengthening your ability to face reality without illusions. Every time you overcame pain and came out on the other side, you were proving to yourself that you are capable of this level of psychological work. But you need to be careful, and this is where the warning comes in, because your neighbor knows this is his moment too. He knows that if he doesn't call your attention now, he might finally lose control, so he will intensify all his old tactics. The urge to sabotage will be stronger than ever. The impulse to push people away will seem more logical than it actually is. The desire to destroy your life and start over somewhere else will seem like divine guidance, when in reality, it's just fear disguised as spirituality. Can you distinguish between your authentic intuition guiding you toward the necessary change and your neighbor trying to keep you trapped in familiar patterns of self-destruction? Here's how you distinguish one from the other. Authentic transformation, even when it involves endings or changes, carries a quality of clarity and peace beneath the intensity. There's a certainty that this is the right thing to do, even if it's difficult. Your neighbor's agenda, on the other hand, always carries a quality of urgency, panic, and this needs to happen now or else. It wants you to act before you think. It wants you to burn bridges before you reconsider. It wants you to make permanent decisions based on fleeting emotions. So when you feel that urge to take drastic action, that's your signal to pause, breathe, and ask, is it my wisdom speaking or my wound? The integration process I'm describing isn't an isolated event. It's an ongoing practice of bringing awareness to what was previously unconscious. Every time you recognize your neighbor's influence and choose to respond differently than your old patterns dictate, you are reclaiming your power. Every time you feel that destructive impulse and, instead of acting on it, you sit with it and ask what it's really trying to tell you, you are healing yourself to a depth most people never reach. Every time you choose vulnerability over control, truth over manipulation, transformation over destruction, you are literally reprogramming your brain and nervous system to operate from your authentic power instead of your defense mechanisms. And as you do this work, something beautiful begins to happen in your external life. Relationships that should end naturally, without the need for dramatic outbursts. Situations that don't contribute to your growth dissolve without you needing to destroy them. New opportunities arise, aligned with who you are becoming, instead of who you pretended to be. You begin to attract people who are not intimidated by your intensity, but rather drawn to it. You begin to create a life that doesn't require you to hide any part of yourself to be accepted. Your neighbor has been the guardian of your rejected parts, keeping them safe until you were ready to reclaim them. And you are ready now. That is why this message has reached you at this very moment. That is why these words resonate in your body in a way that tells you this is true, even if your logical mind wants to dismiss it. Your soul knows it's time to stop living divided between your acceptable self and your shadow self. It's time to become whole. The power that emanates from this integration is unlike anything you've ever experienced. You will discover that you can embrace the darkness of others without being dominated by it, because you have learned to deal with your own. You will discover that you can face truths that have shattered others because you have built the inner structure capable of containing intense reality. You will realize that you can transform poison into medicine, wounds into wisdom, and darkness into power that serves life instead of destroying it. This is the gift of Scorpio operating at its highest level, death and rebirth as a conscious art form, rather than an unconscious pattern of destruction. This December, pay close attention to moments when you feel exceptionally irritable or reactive. These are your opportunities to find your more sensitive side. Instead of repeating the pattern, stop and reflect. What old wound is being reopened now? What fear is behind this reaction? What is my shadow trying to protect me from? And then, with all the compassion you can muster, thank your more sensitive side for working so hard to keep you safe and show it that now you can do it. You are strong enough to face what it was protecting you from. You are ready to take responsibility for these exiled parts of yourself. This is not an easy task. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But you are not like just anyone. You are a Scorpio, and you came here specifically to perform the arduous psychological and spiritual work that transforms not only individual lives, but entire lineages. By healing your relationship with your shadow, you're not only changing your own life, you are breaking generational patterns and creating new possibilities for all who come after you. That is the level of impact your transformation has. That is why your neighbor has been speaking so loudly lately, because you are finally ready to deal with this with awareness instead of fear. Remember that integration doesn't mean giving in to all your dark impulses. It means acknowledging those impulses, understanding their origin, and then consciously choosing how to express that energy in ways that create rather than destroy. Its intensity doesn't need to be repressed but can be channeled. Its power doesn't need to be hidden, but can be used wisely. Its darkness doesn't need to be feared, but can be transformed into depth that serves the greater good. The warning in this title, "Be very careful," is not intended to frighten you. It aims to awaken you to the seriousness of this moment. You are at a crossroads where you can continue letting your shadow control your life behind the scenes, or you can bring it into the light and consciously integrate it. The first path leads to more of the same patterns you've been living. The second path leads to a level of fulfillment and power that will surprise you. The choice is yours, but you need to choose consciously, because not choosing is also a choice. It's choosing to let your neighbor remain in control. Share in the comments below if you recognized your neighbor in what I described. Talk about the patterns you noticed, the ways in which your shadow has been trying to get your attention. Your honesty will help other Scorpios recognize their own patterns and feel less alone in this intense process of transformation. Subscribe to this channel, because the work we do here goes beyond superficial positivity. We deal with real dark issues, genuine transformation, and the kind of spiritual work that generates lasting change. Turn on notifications so you don't miss upcoming content that will guide you through specific practices and techniques for shadow integration. This is not a one-time process. It's an ongoing practice in which I will support you. Your neighbor has been waiting for this conversation. He's been trying to get your attention through sabotage because he didn't know any other way. But now you know. Now you can choose to interact with him consciously, listen to what he's trying to tell you, and integrate those rejected parts back into your wholeness. This is your invitation to stop living divided and start living as the powerful, integrated, and fully realized Scorpio you were always meant to be. The transformation begins now. Your neighbor is waiting. Are you ready to open the door?